Good morning! Welcome to Life with Stuart. It's Monday here, and that means it's time for the weekly recap. And so last week, I was invited to lunch by my sister-in-law's brother, so Christopher, and we had lunch, and it was a surprise, but it was really good. We connected and just talked about our relationship with the Lord and what He's been doing in our life, and it was just really a wonderful time of deepening our relationship, which hasn't really had a lot of input over the last year that I've been gone. So it was really good just to have that time together and to be encouraging one another in the Lord. And then he invited me on Tuesday to a Bible study. And so before I went to the Bible study on Tuesday, I went to a coffee shop called the Alchemy Lounge, and it took me 50 minutes to walk there. Yes, 50. To get there, and it was worth it. It was just a really nice place in an old factory, I believe, called Low Mill, and so there and different artists and small businesses and just people in there to use it, and just for the benefit of the arts and local business and different things like that. So I went there and just spent some time writing, mostly just free writing, story ideas, and then Christopher picked me up and we went to a restaurant called the Royal Rose, and we had a Bible study with Mackie Shed and a few other people kind of in the college ministry, kind of not with Central, and so it's just really neat to just be a part of the Word and write out of 1 Timothy and out of Hebrews in the way of being trained in the Lord, and the power of the Word, that it's living and active, and that it's not just a dead book that's just super old that we're looking to and reading from, but God breathed it, and he breathed life into us. He breathed it and inspired and worked through the writers in His Word that is still relevant today. And so after that, I had Christopher drop me off at the library, and so I was perusing around looking at different books, didn't get anything, and I was walking back home, so right through the same area where I had applied at Mayway and Publix and Taco Mama and the Chocolate Bar, and one place across the street from the Chocolate Bar is the Cajun Steamer. And so I decided to just walk in and see if they had an opening, and they did, either as a cook or a busboy. I was like, well, as a busboy, and they offered an application, which I took. I filled it out. One of the managers came up and checked on me, and he ended up interviewing me over his lunch break, and I got the job, which I was not expecting at all, and he wanted me to start that night. Unfortunately that night, well, not unfortunately, but I was going to be babysitting for my brother and his wife, Trevor and Stephanie, babysitting. The kids were asleep, but I was house sitting with the kids there in bed. And so it was just really neat to be, I just spent some time journaling and just thanking the Lord for opening that door, which within 20 minutes, I think, maybe half an hour, I walked in there and I walked out with the job, and I was not expecting that. So I started on Wednesday night, so I didn't end up going to church. I started my first night with Mancy, so he's one of the more veteran busboys. He's been there for 2 years and just learning the ropes and stocking the ice and the cups and getting the dishes and bringing cups to the bar and just different things like that. And it's good, and the environment is about what I expected from previous work experiences of just colorful language and some crude joking and gossip and different things. So it's challenging to want to speak into those situations but not joining in or just letting it pass by and just be like, okay, I don't want to, but just how do I engage in a way that is encouraging and is godly, and not just shying away of I don't want to get myself dirty. It's well, it's happening all around me, I can't escape it. So if you'd be praying for me in that area, I would really appreciate that. So Thursday I went back again, same time, from 5:30 to 10:30, so the evening closing slot, and so it was really good to learn. Both those days were pretty steady, so it wasn't just sitting back and watching things happen, but just really getting involved with Mancy and helping wherever I could, and just learning on the go. Even though there were some moments where everything was stocked and nobody was leaving, and we'd bust all the tables, and some quiet periods which were nice, just to catch your breath and I just spend a little time praying a little bit, and just walk around, maybe talk to some people on some different things. And most of the mornings of those times haven't been doing a whole lot. I actually sent out my first partner request email and video. I did a kind of a combination request if somebody would consider partnering with me and being a monthly supporter. So that was kind of a big deal for me, because I've been talking about it a lot, that you'd be praying for me and that I would want to do it. But I finally did it, and I feel it's just really encouraging that I was able to do that, and I hope to do that more of this week. And so Friday morning I went back and worked the opening shift at the Cajun Steamer, so 10:30 to 3:30, and it's pretty much reversed. So this time I was working with Jordan, a different bus boy, and so we take the mats out at night, so we just had to take them in, restock the ice, bring out the cups, and pretty much be available, because not many people came in the morning. It was a pretty slow morning, so it was really quiet and really slow, and sometimes we had to, you should watch that window, or check here and check there, and do a little more detailed work. So that was kind of good to see the other side of it, whereas like the other nights were pretty steady, and this morning was pretty slow. But it was still good to learn and just be available, and see the different details and things that you can do when it's not so busy. So the last 3 days were good at the Cajun Steamer. Then Saturday morning, excuse me, I got to Skype with some of my DTS, or discipleship training school family, from a few years ago. So I did it in 2014 in January, so it's been over 3 years, and usually we have a lot of people who get on, so about 10 or more. There was 23 in all, so we try to get about half sometimes who get together every few months over a Skype call. And so this time there's only 3 of us, and so it's really different, because usually with a lot of people we're talking over one another. We have to be like, quiet everybody, we want to hear what Riley has to say, and then we all like listen, and then we ask questions, and then we move on to somebody else, or we're just talking amongst ourselves and everything like that. So this time it was really funny with only a few of us, that we'd be pausing, we'd be like listening, we'd be waiting, and then we'd talk a little bit, and but it was great. It was a lot of fun. And then helped mow the lawn again before it rained, because it rained a whole lot Saturday night and Sunday morning. Sunday, we've still been going through the Old Testament and the prophecies, and we went through the prophecy of Daniel, and the statue with the head of gold, and the chest and arms of silver, the belly and thighs of bronze, the legs of iron, and the feet of iron and clay, and how the Israelites saw those prophecies and knew that when God would establish his kingdom that would never end, they would have to wait through 4 kingdoms. And so when they were part of the Babylonian Empire, and then the Medes and Persian Empire, and then the Greek Empire, and then I believe the Roman Empire, they thought they knew when exactly it would be, when some split and it was a subdivision, or like a sub-king of a kingdom. They thought it was supposed to be this other kingdom, like a separate, and that Jesus would be coming at this specific time. But they were, it's hard to say. So it was just really interesting to see that perspective of like, oh wow, when the Israelites were drawn out into exile, when they were taken captive, it was the artisans and the tradesmen and the merchants, and so like the farmers and the shepherds and the people of like lower class were like left behind and killed. And so when they came back to rebuild, the economy and everything shifted and changed so much. And so I, as somebody who grew up in the church reading the Word and reading this, and just like, I know it was just so good to get a refreshed perspective on it, to be able to see like, wow, this had so much impact when they were, from the Old Testament to the New Testament, and there's so much different that changed in the 400 years that we don't really read about in the Bible after they came back from captivity in Babylon. And then Sunday, the sermon was in Mark, and just Jesus as the storyteller and the sower and the seeds out of Mark 4, and just Jesus, sharing parables and the meaning behind them and different things like that. And it's just really cool to, again, I really enjoy I really enjoy storytelling and sharing stories and writing stories and reading stories, and so it's just really neat to have that perspective. In the afternoon, I was writing a whole lot, writing and drawing, just story ideas were just coming. So again, I try to have a low tech and low, if no, Wi-Fi on Sunday. So if I miss your birthday or if you message me, I try to get back to you on Monday. And so it's just really neat. Sunday night we had, for a small group at the Goads, we had Tom and Selwyn, and they came and just shared about their testimony and their life and how they, as they're growing up and they had dreams and, wanting to work and have a family, that those didn't really happen the way they had thought they would. And so it's just really neat to hear their openness about how they both went through divorce and they had the hardship and the challenges and the changes that took place of going from being married to then being single for a long period of time, and then not wanting to be remarried just for the sake of being remarried, but really wanting to put Jesus first and have somebody come alongside and not just like converge, but just be merging together towards Jesus and somebody who will outlast their relationship, who the relationship is built on, and who is steadfast. And it's not like you can't expect all the happiness and all the goodness and just everything to be in one person, that you can be satisfied by one person, because that's not possible. That's impossible unless it's Jesus. And so that was just really neat to hear, someone who's still young, who's still single, who I'm not really looking right now, but just to keep those in mind, that it's like I'm not going to find the one person, the one lady with everything, I want in her, because that's going to be impossible. There are going to be some things that she does not have or cannot do, for me. And so that's just a great reminder. And so that was just a great night. Again, there, I just really enjoy going to those, just sharing and hearing about testimony. Testimony is huge for when I've been with youth with a mission or YWAM. And so just the word, the power of the word, because we overcome the enemy by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. So it's really powerful to hear somebody's testimony, how God has been working, how God has been redeeming, how God has been healing and restoring and just working through their life in the midst of the brokenness and in the midst of the hardship, in the midst of the sin and the fallenness of them and their own life, as well as those they've impacted and they've been impacted by, and just all that kind of stuff. So I just really enjoy hearing that. And so this week has been really incredible, of just starting out with family and connecting over meals and sharing our relationships and going deeper than before, and then getting a job like that and working and starting to work and getting into another environment that's very different from kind of the safe Christian environment of the home as well as church. And so wanting to be an example and being open about my faith and not kind of shying away and like, oh no, I don't want to get dirty from the language and the gossip, but it's like, okay, how can I speak into that? Not in a way that's like, oh, I shouldn't be surprised that the lost are acting lost, that sinners are sinning, that the world is the way it is without Jesus, because that's so true. Without Jesus, I would not be where I am today. And so how do I, love them and serve them, to fall in love with Jesus, to find and realize who Jesus is to them. So that's something that I would appreciate your prayer for, that I would continue to be open and see little areas, I don't know what sharing the gospel necessarily will look like in this particular place and season, but I'm really excited to have that opportunity that God opened the door for me to be able to work, and I just really want to take full advantage of it, not just for the work and just getting money, but also that people are there to be encountered by Jesus, because he lives within me, and I am there, and I'm ready and willing, and I